Hey everybody, onepeg here. Today's Little Things video has to do with recoil, specifically recoil control, and how the statistics of a gun and recoil control could possibly be the most important thing for you in your loadout. Also, we have a couple of little tricks that have to do with recoil that you may not know about that could assist you in your travels. But before we get into all of that, we have our very first video sponsor in salad.io. Remember that time you left Tarkov AFK open overnight because you went to check out the latest episode of Lock and Key on Netflix and fell asleep on the couch? For me, that was last night, and 2 nights ago, and all of last weekend. So if you're absent-minded like me, have a decent gaming rig, and would rather earn something for your power consumption rather than just getting a bigger power bill, you should try Salad. Salad is a prefabricated crypto miner made for gamers to get IRL loot when they're AFK. What can you get? Well, how about a vanilla Visa card, or Amazon gift cards, or hell, even a 2080 Ti? Salad utilizes your GPU when you're not, so every time you go AFK, you can get chopping salad and make some extra money. Simply go to salad.io, install the software, select your goal, and in a few mouse clicks, you're off to chopping salad. Salad uses electricity just like any other crypto miner would. It's possible your power consumption costs will be greater than any money that Salad will generate. So make sure you check what your kilowatt usage rates are and how mining can affect your GPU using the links below before you get started. If you're a college kid in a dorm, you're probably good to go. But if you're still living at home with mom and dad, you might get in trouble. So make sure you get clearance with mission control first, yeah? In the description below, there are links to the Discord server for Salad and the gang. They've been very helpful to people in my community, and I'm sure they'll be helpful for you as well. If you're interested in Salad, check the download link below and use code onepeg to get an extra bonus when you get going. I personally use Salad to pay for my Discord Nitro subscription as well as a gift subscription for my son. But there are an awful lot of options to choose from. Check out salad.io and earn some rewards by mining AFK the smart way. Hey everybody, my name is onepeg, and this is Little Things Episode 9. Recoil control in Tarkov is kind of a funny thing, and tends to be a little bit polarizing depending on who you talk to inside of the community. From constant Reddit and Twitter memes complaining that the recoil control in Tarkov is unrealistic, to Nikita swearing up and down that the recoil system is not really ever going to change, and it just is what it is for the purpose of better gunplay. The larger overarching question in this case is, when is enough recoil control enough? Of course, that's like asking the question, is your computer's processing power fast enough, or is the horsepower in your car high enough? Of which the majority of gamers will always answer no. But in the pursuit of trying to illustrate exactly what it looks like between the different levels of recoil, I thought I would make a video that would kind of outline what it is that you're looking for, and do you actually have to physically compensate for recoil control at all? You see, because in Tarkov, there's this automatic compensatory mechanic that exists inside of the game, where your PMC is kind of trained to the effect that they automatically will take control, kind of like Tarkov Jesus taking the wheel and controlling the recoil for you. So rather than having to rely on Counter-Strike-esque muscle memory to pull down on the mouse every time that you take a shot, after the first couple of rounds are fired, Tarkov tends to do that for you. And this can be further reduced by recoil control skill and weapon mastering, such as skills for each one of the individual weapons that will, like in the case of the SA-58, reduce the overall recoil down to something that can be only described as a laser. Now, in this game, we all know by now that you can modify a gun to almost any kind of variant, and the list of options continues to grow, thanks to the devs. But none seems more drastic in the spectrum of options that you have for recoil control than the SA-58. In the case of the SA-58, you can build an 11-inch pistolized version with a recoil value of 931. The higher it is, the worse it is. All the way down to a meta SA-58, if you will, with a minimum recoil value of 256.
Hi kids, Editor Edna here. Just wanted to stop in and remind you that onepeg is an idiot. He thought minimum recoil was 256, and he's completely wrong. It's actually 190, because you use the A3 adapter, the BMD, and the Landtech Dragon, bringing it down to 190. One Peg is an idiot. Don't mind him. But the information still works. Just remember you can get it down to 190. One Peg's an idiot. Thanks.
But the question, obviously, is what does that look like? So what we're going to do is outline 4 different SA-58s, going from the pistolized max recoil version all the way down to the minimum recoil version across 4 different guns. And I've packed a few potential surprises in this one, kind of in between. So first up, we have our pistolized SA-58. Now, this SA-58 costs about 74,000 rubles in parts, has 57 ergo, which makes it our second worst gun in terms of ergonomics, and boasts the low recoil value of 931. And the spread, when we hold our trigger down, doesn't disappoint. Next, all we did was simply add a stock. In this case, we're adding the Magpul PRS polymer stock for the FAL, which gives us an extra 14 ergo and 36% recoil reduction, which changes our recoil value from 931 down to 589. This also boasts 71 ergonomics, which makes it our most ergonomic gun out of all of them, and being second lightest actually ends up being the one that drains our stamina the least. At 90,000 rubles, this comes in as the second least expensive option. So for bang for your buck, this SA-58 actually ends up being the most valuable of all of them, given how drastic of a recoil reduction you get. However, from a controllability standpoint, it's still not all that great. If you were to take something as simple as a compensator to put on the barrel in this case and add a RK1 foregrip, for instance, this actually could come out to be a pretty viable little gun. But I still don't think the recoil control is good enough unless you start getting some mastery level perks. Our next SA-58 comes into what I would refer to as mid-level for recoil. In this case, we're adding a 16-inch barrel, which gives us an additional 8% recoil reduction, and a compensator that gives us another 6%. In addition to that, we're also adding an RK1 foregrip, which gives us another 4% recoil reduction, making our total recoil, in this case, 418. The parts in this case cost 125,000 rubles, and it boasts 68 ergonomics. And the reason for that is because some of these parts tend to be things that aren't usually individually sold. You could probably make an SA-58 with this amount of recoil for less, but again, this whole purpose was to outline recoil and not necessarily focus on the cost. We're finally getting into a scenario where I would say that this is controllable. Now, a quick note here. In the case of each one of these SA-58s, we also included a laser targeting device. One of the interesting aspects of Tarkov is what we refer to as point shooting. Meaning that rather than looking down the sights and shooting that way, you have the ability to kind of hip fire, even though the gun is technically on your shoulder and not on your hip. This can be extremely accurate. And one of the benefits that laser pointers, like this blue laser on our gun, does for us is reduce our shot groupings. So if you notice, if I have the laser off and hold the trigger down, our shot grouping of X amount of size is smaller when I have the laser on and pull the trigger doing the same type of scenario. What is interesting about this is flashlights and infrared flashlights also do the same exact thing. So if you end up watching a streamer, or if you want to try this yourself and you end up using an IR flashlight that is not really easily, if at all, seen by the naked eye inside of Tarkov, you can still get the benefits of using a laser pointer without actually giving away your position by showing the laser pointer. In a true SA-58 meta build, the Chads among us tend to utilize an IR flashlight to get the tighter groupings when they are point shooting, as opposed to utilizing a laser that could give away their position, especially if they're playing on a map like Labs. Now, the last gun we have here is what I would refer to as a meta recoil SA-58. In this case, it utilizes the CASV FAL handguard, which gives us a little bit of recoil reduction, a 21-inch barrel, and the Austrian compensator. In addition to that, we also have an RK2 and the SA-58 DSA SPR stock. All total, this brings our total recoil down from 418 from our last gun down to 256. The parts in this case also cost only about 113,000 rubles, which makes it just slightly more expensive than the pistolized SA-58 that we just added a stock to. But it does come at an ergonomics cost. In this case, the gun is the heaviest out of all of them and also has the lowest ergo at 55. And again, this is at 55 ergo utilizing a 20-round mag and not a 50-round mag, which would stunt our ergonomics even more. But in this case, an additional 200 or so recoil reduction is pretty substantial, and you can see it here when we start holding down our trigger. Now, in this case, the meta build, along with some recoil mastery perks, ends up turning this gun into a laser. And if you watch streamers like Ghost Freak, for instance, he has been able to very adequately illustrate that for all of us. So then the question becomes, how much recoil reduction at the sacrificing of ergonomics ends up being too much? There are those among us that think that ergonomics isn't all that important, and recoil reduction is king. And then there are others among us that think that ergonomics is the most important thing, and we don't need to worry as much about recoil if we end up being accurate. And I think with recoil skill and weapon mastery assisting in that recoil reduction overall, it ends up giving people the freedom to be able to mix and match some of the ergonomics style attachments as opposed to going for full recoil control. So I think in this case, your mileage is going to vary. But in the next video, what I'm going to look at is the relationship between recoil control and ergonomics, and look at the different meta builds and how looking at something in between could potentially be the most beneficial for everyone. I want to thank you guys so much for lending me your eyeballs. Thank you again to Salad.io for sponsoring this stream and for being as cool as they are with letting me be a creator when it comes to generating these ad spots and not making me adhere to some kind of jargon. My name, again, is onepeg, wishing you all the best in Tarkov. May your next marked room have 2 weapons cases, you never see a server overload error ever again, and you find solace and joy in knowing that every single hatchling player is crying themselves to sleep tonight because Nikita forced the AI to chase, hunt, and murder all of them. Cheers.